Social media is not real. The lives that I'm seeing people live, some of you might be living in luxury, and girl, I love that for you. And maybe one day I'll experience the same kind of luxury. But me personally, like, luxury is not something that I am chasing in material things. Luxury is something that I'm chasing in ease of life and softness and love and just being comfortable in the space that I'm in, comfortable with the people that are around me, comfortable in the decisions that I'm making. That's what that means to me. Welcome to the kitchen table, where we laugh, cry, and spill all the tea while diving deep into stories that shape who we are. I'm Paige, a single Black mother, storyteller, and someone on a lifelong journey of healing and growth. This podcast is a safe space for truth-telling, healing, and connection. Here, we'll explore how trauma and resilience have shaped my life and yours, and how we find joy and strength along the way. As always, before we dive into today's topic, I would love to check in with you. How are you? If you're anything like me, your anxiety has been at an all-time high this week. I've been struggling. There's so much uncertainty, so many things happening around the world, and I'm just not sure what to think of it. But one thing's for sure is that I'm grateful to be here another day, to feel safe in this space that I'm in right now. I do not take that for granted, but I would encourage you to, again, unclench your jaw, take a deep breath, and we can go ahead and breathe together. Inhale and exhale. Thanks for tuning in with me today. I'm so excited to dive into today's topic because I just feel like there's so much that I could say, but I'm going to do my best to keep this brief because if you're anything like me, I don't love a podcast that's just full of fluff. And I hope that when you listen to me, you don't think that I'm just being fluffy with my words, but that you're finding purpose and meaning in everything that I say. Let's get into it. Today, we're talking about something that's been tugging at me a lot lately, just in this time period that I am in my life. And honestly, I think it's something that we all feel in different ways. And that is the idea of a soft life. Now, the soft life girl or the soft life era has been all over social media. So we're talking the pretty aesthetics, candles, bubble baths in Bali, matching loungewear. Like, I want to talk about the real part of the soft life, the deeper part, because if we're all being honest with ourselves, everyone's soft life isn't created equal. We're going to talk about rest and what it means to choose ease and stillness. And when life doesn't always give you those options, we're going to talk about softness as strength, rest as resistance, and especially for those of us who have had to stay in survival mode for so long. So pull up a chair. This one's tender, but it's true. All right, y'all, grab your favorite mug, your teacup, or whatever you're sipping from because it's time for What's the Tea. Today, I have a sparkling blueberry lemonade matcha from one of my favorite spots called Gravel and Grind. It is so good and so refreshing and just what I need on this very hot day. It's a whopping 93 degrees outside, y'all. Make sure you are staying hydrated and minding your business. All right, so if you're new here, this is the part of the show where we pour it all out. Life lessons, personal stories, and maybe a little side-eye worthy drama. So settle in and let's get real because here's what's brewing today. What even is a soft life? For some people, a soft life is about luxury and leisure, and others, it's about emotional peace. But for me, it's about not having to fight so hard just to feel okay. It's about ease, and that's ease in my body, in my day, in my home, and in my relationships. But here's the thing, that kind of life doesn't show up equally for everyone. If you're a Black woman, if you're a single parent, if you grew up in lack, if you're still healing, if rest feels like a risk instead of a reward, then a soft life might feel like a distant dream. The truth is, some of us were raised in survival and we didn't get taught how to slow down. We got taught to keep pushing, to be strong, to be everything and never fall apart. So when the world tells us to rest, it feels foreign and sometimes it feels guilty. Growing up, I wouldn't have even been able to fathom a soft life. There was no indicator to me as a child that life was anything but difficult, was hard. It was a struggle. I watched my mom work so hard to provide for us as a single parent with 6 kids in the house, and she's doing all of the legwork. Now, I grew up in one of those families that was most definitely poor. Like, we were poor. And my mom did a really great job of masking that. And I mean that in a few different ways. So you were never going to find us in a rundown house, even though we were poor. Honestly, we were never in, until I was like a senior in high school or somewhere in high school, we never lived anywhere other than my grandparents' house that didn't have at least 3 bedrooms and a basement. So yeah, we were all doubled up all the time. So I had to share a room until my sister right before me left for college. That was the first time I had my own room, but you would never find us in anything smaller than that. And life was a lot different back then. The economy was a lot different, but don't get it twisted. My mom struggled to keep those bills paid. And it was every other year we had that eviction notice on our door. And every time we got that eviction notice, we would retreat and go back to my grandparents' house. My grandparents' house has 3 bedrooms and a basement. And so we would make it work. It was tight. But as the years went on, my siblings were getting older. There were less and less of us that had to move there. So it got a little bit easier. But there was never an indication to me during that time period of my life that my life was soft. But now that I think about it, it might have been softer than I thought. For context, I've disclosed multiple times, especially on my TikTok, if you follow me, that Harlem and I are currently living with my grandparents, and it's a place for me to be able to retreat to. And while I never thought that I would return there after I had my daughter and left, it's turning out to be the best decision that I think that I could have made for us, considering all things. So I'll back up just to give a timeline and be as transparent as I can. When I was pregnant with my daughter, it was during COVID, I moved back into my grandparents' house. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I didn't have a solid plan because my pregnancy was not planned and her dad was in Chicago. My mom had convinced me that we should move out and get our own place. I was working and I had taken a pretty decent job that had decent pay, and my mom was on disability. So she convinced me that we should move out of my grandparents' house together so that she would be able to help me with the baby. She told me that I did not have to do this alone. I didn't think it was a great idea, but in hindsight, I'm so glad I did it. You never really know when your life is going to change. And so that whole situation was a blessing that I didn't know that I needed. So we moved into a townhouse together. I had my daughter literally a few days after we moved in there. So we moved just in time. And then fast forward, we're there for about 1.5 years and things are getting hard. My mom's health is declining. I had quit my job after I had my daughter for a little bit just because I was in a really toxic work environment. And the new mom, the postpartum, the mama bear thing that we don't talk enough about, like I turned into a mama bear and I just was not settling for that job. I ended up leaving and staying home, and I was literally hustling to make ends meet, but things just got too hard, and I was trying to take care of my daughter and also making sure that my mom was healthy and as safe as possible, and I just cracked under the pressure. And so I made the decision that us as a family unit, that we were going to retreat and go back to living with my grandparents. It was easier. There are no stairs that my mom has to go up there, and she was losing mobility in her legs and everything was just getting harder. So it was just the best decision for us at that time. And it also took some financial pressure off of me at the same time. So after that, I was there with my mom and my grandparents for, I'm going to say, I don't remember how many months, maybe 8 months or so. And then I decided that I was going to move out. Me and my daughter were going to move out, and we were moving in with one of my friends at the time who was also a single parent and was looking for a change and just to make a major transition. So I did that. And it was not even 3 weeks later that my mom ended up in the hospital. And then y'all pretty much know the story from here. If you don't, I talk about it in the first episode and lots of other episodes. My mom ended up getting sick very quickly and was admitted into the hospital, and then soon after was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. So I'm living in this townhouse with my single mom friend and going through this whole process of my mom being sick and in hospice. And so I'm back and forth and I'm doing all the things, and I'm still working a full-time job. Things went south in that house very quickly. And she quickly became someone whose energy that I didn't want around me or my child. And it just was a miserable situation. And so after some months, I made the decision that come spring at the end of that lease that I was going to retreat yet again. So if you are recognizing a theme here, it's that when things are hard or when things are just not working out, myself and my mom would retreat back to what is soft and what is comfortable. And if you had asked me probably even a month ago if I thought living in that house would represent a soft life for me, I would tell you no. But with so much happening, I'm just having epiphany after epiphany. The first time that I recognized that this is my version of a soft life was a few weeks ago. I posted on my TikTok a video of me in a red lawn chair sipping my iced coffee while my grandfather drove my child around in the yard on his ride-on lawnmower. Now, before y'all come here and eat me up, just know that my grandfather at his big age is going to continue to cut the grass for as long as he can. I have offered, I have asked, because I think it's cool and I think it's fun, and the man won't let me. So yes, I was sitting in the chair watching him cut the grass because he won't let me help.
Paige paused her shift, so I'm interrupting with the special broadcast. Hi, my name is Teddy. I'm the producer. She's in my office, and it's a great little setup for her. But listen, if you guys really appreciate the podcast that my sister's putting together here, I want you to know that you can always offer suggestions for me to improve this thing. And then, because I'll have to be the one to implement it. So that's the first thing I need you to know. Second thing, okay? If you guys want to chip in to get Paige like an official studio setup, probably $200, $300, $400, maybe. A couple props. We've already got a green screen and stuff here. Or if you have suggestions for how she could make hers look, and if you want to be a part of that whole suggestion or that whole like suggestion process, maybe we can create like a friends of the podcast type thing, type group. Suggestions, inputs, ideas. Maybe when she's having like rough weeks and she can't get all the podcast stuff put together quickly, she can have a check-in with you guys on the internet somewhere. Facebook group. Me, I come up with ideas to help people solve particular problems. Organizational, personal. I'm a problem solver. And I am also, hopefully, a friend. So anyway, my name is Teddy Galway, Paige's brother. She says that she wants me to be in a podcast sometime in the future. When? Je sais pas. I don't know. But I'm down for it. Anyway, I have a funny feeling my sister's on her way back, so I'm just going to wrap this thing up and say she's going to be very surprised when she sees that I have added some stuff to it. Peace and blessings, friends. What does Paige say? Stay hydrated, mind your business.
But in that moment, I realized that this is my version of softness. In the video that I posted on TikTok, it said, maturing is realizing that this is my soft life. And that was a full circle moment for me, because I grew up believing that it was a burden for us to be there. Not only a burden on my mom because it just made things more difficult emotionally, but we are also a burden on my grandparents, because here we are filling up their house again. Like, they could be living their life and it's just the two of them, and my mom comes in with all these kids. But what a relief it must have been for my mom to know that she has a home to go to when she needs it, a home that, though sometimes shaky, nothing is perfect, nothing is ideal, but a place to go where you can reset, refresh, and start again. And I'm in the stage of my life where I'm trying not to look at it with such a negative perspective, and that it's okay for me to be resetting and refreshing, and it's okay for me to choose easy and comfortable and soft, because who says that I have to struggle all the time? I was just telling my brother earlier today, could you imagine what it would be like for me right now if I was struggling to afford my own place as a single parent in this economy with all this going on, and with me being laid off this year? Like, things could have been so much more worse for me. And so this is me leaning into ease. This is me leaning into the softness. This is me not having to stress about how I'm going to pay for home repairs when something goes wrong in the home that I own, or how I'm going to deal with my rent being raised at the end of my lease because they can raise it. There's so many more things that I could be dealing with. And so it's just a really big full circle moment for me, and a big reminder that all softness is not created equal. It doesn't look the same for all of us. And I get on social media and I see the girls in Bali, and I see people traveling and taking these girl trips and all of the luxury things and their new clothes, and I see all of it. And I'll admit that I spend a lot of time feeling I'm inadequate and a little bit self-conscious because I'm not living that life, but that's just not what my life looks like. And if I'm truly being honest and authentic with myself, I don't necessarily want those things. You have to check yourself when you're in the moment and you start to believe that you want what everybody else wants, because do you really, or is it just because of the likes and the attention that things are getting? Like, I really try my hardest to live authentically and think about what it is that Paige likes and what it is that Paige wants. And I'm really a simple girl. Like, I'm a simple country girl. And yes, there are things that I want, and there are things that I want to work towards. And I'm not where I thought I would be right now, but that's okay. And just because I'm not where I thought I should be right now, I don't have to struggle to get there. I grew up in struggle culture. I grew up in a place of lack. My mom definitely had the mindset of lack. She was in survival mode pretty much her whole life. And yes, she had that home to go back to. That was my grandparents' house. There was never a whole lot of drive to necessarily get to the end goal. But that's where I come from. And as a parent, I feel that same relief that my mom must have felt when you get home and you just get to take a deep breath and drop your shoulders and recognize that things don't have to be so hard for me right now. And will I probably put myself in situations where I struggle or things are going to be hard again? Sure, absolutely. And that's all part of the process. But right now I'm resting, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Rest is not a luxury. It's a human right. And if anyone, that is listening to this podcast, if you're in a season of your life where you had to retreat or go back to the thing that you said you wouldn't go back to, if you had to go back to what is easy and what is comfort, don't take easy with such a negative connotation. We don't always have to keep up with the Joneses, and we can scale it back and dial it back and live within our means. Social media is not real. The lives that I'm seeing people live, some of you might be living in luxury, and girl, I love that for you. And maybe one day I'll experience the same kind of luxury. But me personally, like, luxury is not something that I am chasing in material things. Luxury is something that I'm chasing in ease of life and softness and love, and just being comfortable in the space that I'm in, comfortable with the people that are around me, comfortable in the decisions that I'm making. That's what that means to me. So I'll say it loud and clear for all of us to hear again. Softness is not weakness, and rest is not lazy. And when you choose peace, even in small ways, for me being living with my family, it's one of the bravest things that you can do. And so I don't know about you, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time beating myself up for being in the space that I'm in. And I don't think that you should either. So I just hope that you let that sit with you today, that rest is a human right, and luxury and softness is not created equal. Now it's time for At the Table, where we highlight someone or something that inspires us. Today, I want to highlight a dear friend and trusted mentor. Her name is Tiana. Tiana is a daughter, a mother, a sister, and a friend. And she's someone that I look up to, not just for what she does, but for how she moves through the world with clarity, with purpose, and with care. Tiana is one of the first Black women in my life who truly showed me that it's possible to change your narrative and to choose your own path. She stands on business regardless, but she also stands on intention. And the way that she prioritizes herself and her family is so admirable to me. And I just look at her and I see and I picture strength even in her softness when she is vulnerable enough to share that with me. And that is softness in action. It's a reminder for me that choosing you doesn't mean that you're abandoning others. It just means that you're showing up for them even more rooted when it is time for you to show up for them. And Tiana is one of those people for me that will show up for me time and time again. She's been a trusted mentor in my life and a big sister, and I'm honored to have her at the table. I can't wait to have her on the podcast. She's got a lot of great things to say. A conversation with Tiana and I is never a dull one. We both happen to be Scorpio, so shout out to my Scorpio listeners if you hear me, okay? Tiana, I want to say that I thank you for being who you are. Thank you for always walking in your truth and being your authentic self before me, and just thank you for loving me. This next segment is called Table Reads. This is a space where I talk about whatever book is keeping me company right now. And on the last episode, I let you guys know that I'm reading Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson, and it's been such a great book. No, I'm not finished yet. I wanted to read the hard copy of this book rather than listening to the audiobook. If I was listening to the audiobook, I would be done much faster, but I'm reading the hard copy, which, because I'm a single full-time working parent, it takes me a lot longer to read hard copies. Every time I pick up my book, my kid also wants me to read her a book, or she wants me to pay attention to something that she's doing. So it's taking me a little bit of time, but I am enjoying the slow moments when I get to pick it up and just enjoy the read. And so today, because I feel like it's very fitting, there is a constant thread of like a legacy, nourishment, and how we carry the weight of the past in our bodies. And there was one part of the book, one passage that made me pause, and it said, "We grow what we tend to, even if it's buried for years." And that hit me, because maybe the soft life isn't about escaping everything hard, but it's about choosing to tend to you even in the middle of the hard. I would love to discuss that on a deeper level, because like I said, when it comes to social media, we think about softness as being all these luxurious things, but there's just a different piece about when you actually are living a soft life, because you could be living in luxury and be absolutely miserable. And that's just not a desire that I have. I've never been one to want a whole bunch of money. I've never been one to want a whole bunch of luxurious things. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm a little bit bougie, but not in a materialistic way. I think we get so blinded and distracted by that it really it changes our perspective on what we really want. And I would just love to exist in a world where it's okay to want what you want and not chase things just because they look pretty on social media. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, though, if this has resonated with you, or if you're someone who struggles with social media. I'm too nosy to take a full-on social media break. Like, I'm nosy, and I can admit that. I have considered pulling away from social media sometimes because I think it just damages your self-esteem. I've been chasing this TikTok thing of trying to get 10,000 followers just so I could start to monetize my TikTok outside of just the TikTok shop. And while I'm doing that, just watching the other creators and the constant comparison, comparing yourself to all these content creators who are living this luxury lifestyle. And honestly, 80% of the time, I feel like it's not even real. Like, social media is not a real place. And the girls that are getting the brand deals, and they're getting flown out here and they're getting flown out there. And it's hard to constantly compete with my mind when it comes to those things. And I'm super blessed in the life that I have. Like I said, I have a home, I have a roof over my head that I get to go to every day. And it's not the happiest place on earth, but it could be so much worse. I have a beautiful little girl who is intelligent and just blessed in more ways than one. I have so much family, surrounding me that, though dysfunctional at times, full of love, and that makes me rich. If you could design your own soft life, what's one thing you'd include? It doesn't have to be luxury. It could be quiet, slow, solo walks in the morning, coffee on the porch, time to take a deep breath, saying no, taking a nap without feeling bad about it. All of it counts. Send me your answers. I'd love to hear them. You can DM me, email me at thektablepodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear how this episode has resonated with you and how you're prioritizing rest and softness in your life and what that looks like for you. I recognize, and I hope by the end of this episode, you also recognize that softness is really for everybody, but it just looks different for all of us. And if the soft life feels far away, just know that you're not alone. If you feel like you're holding everything all the time and wondering when it's your turn, just to be able to let go even a little bit, know that I see you and I am you. We may not all have the same access to ease, but we can still carve out moments of softness, even if they're small, but honest and quiet. And every time we choose that softness for ourselves and for our children, our family, our community, we're building a new kind of strength. And I really think that narrative is changing. So this is your reminder that soft is strong, rest is resistance, and you deserve both. I want to thank you for tuning in with me today and pulling up a chair and joining me here at the kitchen table. Until next time, keep showing up, keep healing, and remember, there's always a seat for you here. Take care.